I'm going to give you a little bit of what I think here. These are just my personal thoughts. You know the song, everybody's looking for something. Sweet dreams are made of these. Everybody's looking for something, but nobody is looking for themselves. Nobody is reflecting on themselves. Nobody is being what they really want to be in this life. And yet again, I'll throw this out there just for me. I am a do as thou wilt person, but in doing as I wilt, I do it with self-control and discipline and self-respect. You see what I'm saying? There are levels to whatever I do. There are levels to that, you see? And that's what I've been doing for the last 4 years on my channel. Is I've been kind of shedding the old me, but yet getting back to the old me, but in a new way. Even through all of my own shit, even through all of my own things, you see, there's something that I realized. It isn't me that is the problem. It isn't me that has these, quote, dysfunctions. It's just because when we don't do the things that we want to do, but do them responsibly, we get caught up in fear and control and what the rest of the world is doing. So therefore, we're not really living our lives. We're not really doing what we want to do here. We're not really making our own thing because we're so used to projecting all of our own stuff that we've been trained to believe we have to be, or we have to act a certain way for people. And I know for myself, until I went through that process and that stage, this is where a lot of my, quote, depression comes from, is me telling myself that in some way that I'm wrong for what I'm doing, or the thing you're doing other people won't approve of. And that all comes from fear. It's a fear-mongering mentality. And the thing I know is most of these things that we label as fear, that we label as victimization or abuse or any of these things, where it comes from is it comes from fear. It comes from fear itself. It comes from not being what you want to be. And it's all, when you think about it, it's all human nature. Most of it is human nature. I'm not saying there's not little bits and pieces in there that aren't, but through and through, all of these things are human nature. It's just most of the time, a lot of people don't know how to have self-respect or self-control or self-discipline, or they don't know their limits with things. And this is why we perceive these things as being bad things, but they're not bad things. They're just natural things that we do. And the things that I've been wanting to do ever since I was a kid, I didn't do them from a fear of what others would think, or how the world thought of things, or what they would say about it. And see, there's still a little bit of that in my mind. I won't lie. I'm not going to sit here and bullshit myself. There's still a little bit of that there, and I think that will always be in my mind. But at the same time, I'm still going to be myself. I'm still going to do what I want to do, because I already know for myself that I don't need anybody to say you need to do it this way. You should or you shouldn't. You know, don't you think you're doing too much of this? Or do you think that's a good example to lead and all these things? See, that all comes from that person not understanding and knowing themselves, and what they're doing is they're casting their fear upon you because they don't understand themselves. They don't know themselves. You see, they don't self-reflect on themselves. And if you really want to be honest here, if you really want me to be absolutely honest, this is how I see it. If there is just say there's some supreme being that just everything. Say if you want to call it God, if you want to call it the universe, whatever you want to call this thing. No, I'm not that thing. I didn't put all this into action, but yet I am a reflection of that. I am a reflection of calamity and agape. I am a reflection of every single person here. But see, most of us, we're not getting honest with ourselves. We're not being ourselves. We're not willing to do what we want to do because of fear and control and what social media does, or what the rest of the world's doing, or what our parents said we had to be. And all of those constraints that hold you down like a heavy weight in your life. And as long as I am practicing, yet again, self-control, discipline, discipline, control, and accountability and responsibility for myself, and I'm not polluting the environment, and I'm not hurting or killing other people, then I can literally do whatever it is that I want to do. And see, this is something I didn't know these things for myself when I was younger, and I had to look into these things for myself. You see, I had to call myself out, and I had to get honest with myself, and I had to look into these things for myself. You see, I wasn't taught this from anybody. I taught myself this. I taught myself through my own calamity, my own agape. See, I am agape and calamity all in one. I am that all in one package. And I can never get away from that. And I don't want to get away from that, because that's life. Life is chaotic, and life is calm, and sometimes it's relaxing. Life gives and life takes away. And if I would ever say something, see, when I named myself SBN, Natan, God, what I meant by that is the name Natan means he has given. And what I meant by that was he has given, God has given God. The universe has given the universe. You see, God has given God. That's what I meant by it, because everything gives everything, and everything takes away everything eventually. But see, do we look at the world like this? Do we look and self-reflect on ourselves like this is the question. Because see, I am at the point where I don't care who is with me or not with me, because it's not about that anymore. It's not about someone's with me or not with me. It's can you and I self-reflect on each other and know ourselves. You see, can you look back at yourself or look in the mirror? Do you respect yourself is the question. Do you discipline yourself is the question. Do you eat healthy? Do you live healthy is the question. Do you get brutally honest with yourself? Do you call out your own shit? Do you say it how it is when it needs to be said? You see, that is the purest form of a person's calamity and agape all in one. All in one thing. And it cannot get any more real than that. It cannot be any more real than that. That is the ultimate knowing and understanding of oneself, is when you say, I know myself. I know my limits. And I know when I'm taking things too far. But see, what people would call abuse and being offensive and victimization, really all that is that is correcting, and that is calling something out for what it really is. You see, we call it abuse and victimization and you're offending me, when really what it is you are correcting the person. You see, you are, what is the other word that I used? I used correcting, or you're showing them something that they're doing to themselves because they don't understand that all they're really doing is hurting themselves. You see, it's like this. There's a metaphor that I have. When you are someone, I'm not talking about situations where if someone is like hurting you every day and you want to run away from that. I understand that. I'm talking about people that have none of the above happening and they're running away. See, all they're doing is they are running away from themselves. See, when we run away, all we're doing is running away from us. You see? Most of the time, when we hate something, it's because we hate ourselves with it. And we're projecting on that thing. Excuse me for a second. I got something in my damn foot. You see, this whole thing comes down to, we don't know our own self-reflection. We don't understand, if I do too much of this, or I don't have my own self-control, or I don't have discipline in my own life, or I'm not living healthy. See, we're so used to projecting instead of self-reflecting all this stuff. And when we don't do those things, then what do? We blame other people, and we blame the world, and we say it's everybody's fault but our own. And we take no accountability. And this is the thing going on in the world today. The main thing, if you ask me, it is people not taking accountability for their own lives, and it's cowardice. It's people being cowards. It's people not willing to observe what they're doing to themselves in this world. That's why all of this bullshit is going on, because we will not take an honest look at ourselves, and we will not call shit out when shit needs to be called out. And then they call it all these things. They call it abuse, and they call it being offensive, and they call it victimization. No, it's just because you didn't correct yourself. You didn't discipline yourself. So therefore, when someone like me is looking at that, I'm going, what do I got to do here? I guess I have to call this person out. I guess I have to tell them something that they don't know, because someone didn't tell them, or their parents or their family, or nobody taught them these things. So then I have to be the guy to do that. And most people don't want to be that person. They run away from that person because, see, what they're running away from is they're running away from themselves. That's what they're doing. See, we don't look at each other like that's a reflection of me. That is someone in another body, but yet that's my reflection. But do they understand that? Do they understand that they are literally, when they look at me, they're looking back at themselves, but do they know themselves is the question. Have they called out all of their stuff that they've been brought up with and taught to think that that's the way to be? See, this is what terrifies me about most of humanity, is that I have a fear that people do not know themselves. People have not gotten brutally honest with themselves. You see, people have not yet thought of, well, what is going to be the consequences if I get myself into this, or I do too much of this, or I'm not taking care of this, and I'm not taking care of myself, and I'm not respecting myself. You see, we have literally lost our way here. What I think it is that we have lost self-respect for ourselves. We have lost self-reflection. We have lost the ability to call things out and to say it how it really is when it's time to do that. And what do? We run and we hide when we don't want to do that. You see, nobody wants to confront anything. There's no confrontation anymore. Even with these phones lately, I use phones and I use technology, but actually, I hate social media. I don't like social media at all. I don't like what it represents. I don't like how fake it is. People chasing this clout and saying, look at me, I'm better than these people. I actually can't stand it. I just use it as a tool to spread what I know. I just use it as a tool to spread and to talk about my own calamity and my own agape all in one. And see, just like when I uploaded the video of the movie Split, in that scene where he says, the broken are the more evolved. But how many people will admit or will say, I am broken because I have been looking at myself for so many years and I have been examining my own pile of shit that I created. I have been looking at my own accountability. I have been calling myself out. I have been reflecting on my own life. I have been disciplining myself and practicing self-control. It might seem like I'm out of control, but I promise you, I'm not out of control. It might seem like that. But see, when the time is to correct something or to discipline something, that doesn't mean that it is abuse or being offensive or, it's victimization. See, this is what they have us doing. They have us paralyzed in our own fear of the control that we're being controlled by. And nobody wants to go and start their own thing because they don't know how to get out of the mindset of, I have to go work for this place that I don't want to. I have to go to this job I can't stand. I have to pay rent on this place that I don't have the money for. And it just keeps going and going and going and going. Can't we see how enslaved this thing actually has us? And when I say this, hear me out. I am not talking about the people that drive the trucks to work, that stock the shelves, that go to the hospitals to help people. I'm not saying that they are the problem, that's the problem. It's the thing that is controlling it is what the problem is. It is the corporations. It is the greedy people that do not care about you is the problem. It's the rich people. It's the greedy people. It's the people that they rape you. They take from you and take and take and take and take. And that's all they know how to do is take to get more for themselves. And they have no thought about if you are behind or you don't have what you need. They're not going to come and say, hey, I have $1 million extra that I can spare to help you and your family. They're not going to come and do that. That's never, ever going to happen. Never. And until we break off from the thought of this whole thing, then we are never going to live the lives that we want to live. Look, if there is any other time in the history of humanity to make something happen for yourself and for me to make something happen for myself, look, this has to be to each their own. I am not dragging anybody along or saying, hey, come this way or let me hold your hand and show you. No, it can't work like that. It's every man for themselves, but yet if we knew our own reflection, if we would self-reflect and look at our own lives and we would start understanding the whole construct of this thing, then you will come to the point where you say, it's time to break away. It's time to go do my own thing somewhere because I see how this really is. And it's a shame to say, but most of the world is blinded by this, and they don't either want to do it or they think it's too much to do. And yes, there is a lot that goes into it, but it's not as hard as what we think. If you have the resources and you have the funds and you have the food and water and things to do it with, if you have the material to do it with, it's more than possible. It's more than possible. And I'll even be so bold as to say, if I could possibly somehow, if somebody that was wealthy came across my channel and was willing to donate about $100,000, $50,000, $150,000, $200,000, I could make my vision come true. I could do what I know I want to do, and I can actually put it into action. But see, I don't have it yet. It's not there yet. And right now, I don't have the things to put it into action for myself, you see? And people might look at that and go, oh, well, what do you have going for you? You see, there's nothing there. You have no proof of what you're doing. See, everything is up here that I need. I got everything here. And this is what I would, if anything, for each their own, because I'm not going to hold anybody's hand. I'm not going to drag anybody along or do any of that kind of shit. It's just, if each person would start thinking like this and we would change our mindsets about how this whole thing is. See, what has happened to us in this world is these phones and this technology and the way that this is set up, that they have set it up, the thought of it, it has separated us from the intimacy of self-reflection and being a part of something bigger in this life. And I know for myself that I am that thing. I know for myself that I am that thing. But see, when I say that, the side of me that, I don't know how to explain it, but I can't take on the burden of all of this bullshit or all of this extra stuff that people bring with them. And this is my biggest fear, is that people do not know themselves. They are probably either just beginning something, or they're still into a lot of what the mainstream is stuffing down their throat, or they're listening to someone else tell them how to live their lives. They're still thinking of the thoughts of others, that I have to prove something to them. See, I don't have any of those thoughts. I'm not trying to prove anything. I just know the way that I want to live. That's all there is to it. And even though I still have to be a part of this thing. It's see, when you try to break away and go do your own thing, this thought people are terrified of, because they're so used to being enabled by the system and other people and places and things, that when you talk about something like this, it seems alien. People go, "What are you talking about? What do you mean? What are you saying here?" And look, even me doing this, it even, I kind of cringe talking about it right now, because it's not into fruition, and I'm not where I want to be right now. And yes, that is a hard pill to swallow. That is a hard thing to go through the part before something starts happening the way you want it to happen. That is the part that sucks, that not too many people even want to think of, because they don't think that they can do it, so they won't do it. Or we still have the construct of fear, the fear and control part. You see, that's still there, lingering in our mind. We're so used to how this thing is ran that, and listen, I want to say this in the video. There are pros and cons, just like anything else, to capitalism. There are cons in capitalism, and there are pros in capitalism. I'm not fully against capitalism, but I'm not fully for it either, because the people that are running it, the way that they run it is corrupt. It's not the way that I would run it myself. But like I said, the people that go to the stores and stock the shelves, the people that plant the food, the people that water the food, the people that drive the trucks, the people that go to the hospitals every day, these people are not the problem. They're just doing what they need to do to survive. But yet, how I see it is, it should have never been like this. We should never have had corporations being in charge of our own lives. It should have been people being in charge of their own homesteads and refuges and communes of people. It should have never been rich people, greedy, rich corporate people that will take and rape us with what we have. It should have never, ever been like that. It should have never been like that, ever. And this is what I'm trying to get people to see here, is if we could see it like that, then our whole mindset would change. But until that time, it's not going to change, because I know just like a year or so ago, I wasn't even thinking about this. It wasn't even in my mind. I had to think of this for myself. I had to come up with this revelation for me. And see, but I don't give the credit to me for anything. I don't praise me. If there, whatever is doing this, I give the credit to everything. I give the credit to whatever it is, this whole thing. I don't say it's me doing this, even though, yes, it's me doing this. Right when you get cocky, see, this is what a mistake that a lot of people make. Right when they get too cocky, the whole thing falls. And that's what I know not to do. I know not to get too cocky about things. But yet I got to be bold. I have to be bold for myself, because if I'm not bold for myself, then I'm going to continue to live in fear, and I'm going to continue to live a life that I don't want to live, and I'm going to continue to be in this shit that I'm in, and I don't want to do that no more, and I'm not going to do that no more. And right now, even though it sucks right now, yes, right now it sucks. I'm in this apartment on this 3rd floor. It's hot. It's what I have to do right now, I don't like. But I am preparing myself for what is to come. And what's going to happen, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know at all. I can't promise anything. I can't I don't have an answer. It's none of that. It's just I know what I know. And in order to put that into action, I know that I have to do it. I know that nobody's coming to do it. I know that nobody's coming to save the day. I know that nothing's going to happen until I make it happen. That's the only way that it's going to happen. That's the only way that whatever I want it to be is going to be if I make it that way. And sitting around hoping or thinking, oh, well, I'll just go through this life doing nothing and the afterlife, everything will have my back. I'm not counting on things like that no more. I'm only counting on that I have this life and that this is it. And when I'm gone, I'm gone. And really, if you think about it, if you think that way, if you think, oh, well, my reward will be when I die, everything will come together. I'll suffer in this life to have a better life after this. Then that means you're not going to do nothing in the next life. You're not going to do nothing when you die, or nothing if there is any such thing as an afterlife, or we somehow go on somehow. That makes no sense. See, the bond must be broken there. How can I say this? The construct of the thought of what we've been conditioned and trained and brainwashed with to think we have to be, until we break away from that. And let me tell you something, the world is not going to understand. Most of the world that is so caught up in some of these things, they're not going to understand. It doesn't make them your enemy, though. It doesn't make them something that much different. It's just the thought patterns that they have that make them different. And it doesn't matter if people believe in you. It's not about believing in someone. It's about, do you know yourself? Do you know what you want? Do you have discipline in your life? Do you show things that need to be shown when they need to be shown? See, the question comes down to, does each individual know themselves? Because if you don't know yourself, then that means you're looking towards everybody to know you. You're looking towards everybody to give you an answer for things. You're looking towards everybody else to show you how to do stuff. You're looking towards everybody else saying, oh, well, it's your fault, and pointing the finger and blaming and shadow projecting. And this is what we've been trained to do. This is what the social media, this is what the TV, this is what entertainment has done. It's not a thing of being honest with ourselves through and through. And I know I do not expect anybody to understand me. The question is, yet again, do they understand themselves? Do you understand yourself is the question. And I know how foreign this sounds. Excuse me. I know how foreign this sounds to the thought and the construct of someone that has been living in this fake matrix their whole life. I know how odd this is. I know how at odds it might seem that I am with the whole thing. And yes, I am at odds with it. But it does not mean that I hate people, places, and things. I do not resonate with the thought. I do not resonate with the fear and the control and the greedy corporations that run this thing, and they're getting more and more and more. It's only a select few getting more, and then all of us are desperately trying to get by. This makes absolutely no freaking sense to me at all why we are still living this way after hundreds of years, after centuries, after millennial. We're still living under the guise of fear and control. Fear and control. It's just like something Marilyn Manson said. He said, when your breath stinks, you go and get the Crest. You go and get the Scope mouthwash and toothpaste. When you got acne on your skin, you go and you get the skincare products. See, they have a product for every single fear that you and I have. When the thing is, if we would change our lifestyle, we wouldn't have to get some of these things. If we would start eating healthier, if we would start disciplining ourselves, if we would start taking accountability for our actions, you see, if we would start it all has to do with what are you doing for yourself is the question first. You have to, and it has nothing to do with being selfish. It has to do with looking within, because we are only ever going to be with this. I'm only ever going to be with this. And I can never live anybody else's life. I can never tell anybody else what to do or how to be. And see, that's how it seems like I'm being. It seems like I'm telling people what to do. But the thing is, if they don't know themselves, then they're not going to know what to do in this life. That's the thing. And like I said, I know for me, when I run away, all that I'm doing is running away from myself. And getting back to what I was saying, because I want to make this crystal clear in this video for myself too before I end the video, because I want to make sure what I'm saying is the thing that I really wanted to say. But you know, getting back to the part of the discipline and the self-control and the doing what you want responsibly thing and having self-respect. See, if we do not have that as individual people, then that person that does not have that is out of control, is not responsible for anything, is not taking accountability for anything. They don't give a shit about anybody but themselves. And there lies the problem. There lies the problem. Yes, life can be a problem sometimes that needs solved. I know for myself, I'm a problem solver, because that's what life is. It's about solving problems. It's about getting to a point where we can relax and we can have an exciting time and have fun and look at the better in life and seek pleasure. And if we're being honest here, we are all hedonists in this life, every single one of us. If anybody says that they are not hedonistic or they're not a hedonist, they're lying to themselves. Because when we talk about the word love, L-O-V-E, do you know what love really means? Love means pleasure, fun, excitement, the better, discipline, self-control, responsibility. That's what love means. That is the definition of love. Once all those things go, then there is no love, the word love. And I'm not talking about a love that some people might think I'm talking about. I am talking about a tried and true mentality. I am talking about the person being honest with themselves and expressing themselves. And if they have a problem, then saying, okay, how can I fix this problem? If I'm 350 pounds, then that means that I have to go on a diet to lose the weight because I'm going to kill myself and I'm going to have a heart attack. If I'm someone that when I go to the bathroom every time and I leave the whole place with crap on the seat and I leave shit everywhere for someone else to clean up, then see, you're leaving it for another person to take care of it. And then we wonder where these things come from. Why there are so many things that go on in this world is because people are not taking accountability, and they are living in a sort of cowardice where they hide and they run from, and they're so self-absorbed that they don't think of anything but themselves. And when they're not practicing these kinds of things and they're not living that way, it's like, watch out, because a freaking storm is coming. And that's just the way that it is. That is the laws of nature. That is nature itself. If you make a mess and you don't clean it up, eventually that mess is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's going to turn into such a mess that someone will say, oh, it's not my fault, it's their fault, it's his fault, her fault, it's the world's fault. No, it was your and my fault. It was our fault why it happened. And I just, I get so sick of hearing this in life from so many people. I get so tired of this victim kind of mentality, like this you're offending me mentality. No, see, people that are like that, all they're doing is they're not taking responsibility for themselves and accountability for themselves. And they're not taking care of what they need to take care of. And then all that it does, it causes problems for everybody else. It's just like gossip. All that gossip does, it's a cancer. It causes everybody to have strife amongst one another. That's all that it does when people gossip about stuff. Now, I don't mind criticism. I don't mind when someone speaks their mind. But gossip is another thing. See, gossip is a person that does not have self-control. Gossip is a person that does not know themselves, so they have to gossip about someone else because they're not looking at their own shit. That's what gossip comes from. And until we learn these principles, for ourselves, for each person their own, then we are going to live in a habitat that is destructive. We are going to live in a place where there's nobody calling anything out. There's no accountability. There's no discipline. There's no self-respect. And this is everywhere. Everywhere I go, this is what I see in people. And I'm just to the point where that's why I want to break away and go do my own thing. Because I don't want to be around it no more. That's not how I want to live my life. And the more that I see it, it just makes me want to get away more and more. And that's just me being absolutely honest. And until we get honest with ourselves, then nothing is going to change. Nothing's going to come into fruition. We're never going to make a move that we might have to make. Nothing new is going to happen until we as individuals reflect this back onto ourselves. And nobody can make anybody do that. Nobody can force anybody to do that. It is each person's choice to do that for themselves. Your life has nothing to do with my life, and my life has nothing to do with your life, as in the personal things. But my actions speak everything. All you have to do is look at the actions of a person's life. Listen to the things they say. Listen to the way that they go about doing. Just watch how they do things and whatever. And that says everything about that person. Everything. And do you have to sometimes get bold And do you have to sometimes seem like an asshole for the rest of the world because they think you're an asshole because you're either correcting them or saying, look, you're doing this to yourself. You don't respect yourself. And when you say something like that, they blow up. They go into a rage. And it just, oh, you're offending me. You're hurting me. You're abusing me. All this stuff. It's ridiculous. It's absolute insanity and ridiculous when people do this stuff. It's all because they won't take accountability for their own lives. That's all that it comes down to. They're not looking in the mirror at themselves. They're not being real with themselves, and then they have to project all of the things that they're not doing onto other people. And they shadow project, and they blame and point the finger and say it's everybody's fault. It's all these people doing these things, when no, it's each one of us that is contributing to everything that happens here. Until we get that through this thick, prideful, egotistical, conditioned, brainwashed, indoctrinated thing, then it's not going to resonate with people until it gets through this thick thing and it gets to the core of the person. That's when things are going to actually come of it. That's when the seed is planted and you're watering the seed, and the seed is going to come up from the ground and live and bloom. Until then, it's just going to be a seed in the ground. And everything I say in these videos, I'm only saying to myself. Because that's all it comes down to, is each person telling themselves this. It doesn't have anything to do with me telling you or you telling me or you telling yourself this. And then if we're all telling ourselves this, then that is when like-minded people that are thinking of the same things can get together and maybe do something. So anyway, that's how I see it. I'm going to call it how I see it. I'm not holding back because, like I said, I have nothing to hide in my life. I don't have anything to hide anymore. I've already went through my own retribution of calling my things out and exposing myself and deconditioning my mind and my brain and my thoughts. And even though I have some of these things come up, yet again, that's just my own brain doing whatever it does. This has nothing to do with what I'm talking about. See, my own things, my own mental things that I go through, that's my own personal stuff. That has nothing to do with anybody else. These things, though, pertain to every single person on the planet, even if they don't know it yet for themselves. And why do you think all of this exodus is going on? Why do you think people are leaving from where they're from? It's all a part of the same thing. It's just collapsing on itself. It's imploding because people in power and people that run the corporations and greedy people and people, they're not taking accountability for this because they don't really know what to do. They really don't know another way to do this thing, so we keep trying to make it something that's never gonna work. And until we let that go and move on and do something for ourselves, then we're gonna be stuck in this thing. We're gonna be stuck in this construct of this whole thing. And yes, I do. I feel very awkward right now saying this. I feel very uncomfortable. I feel very out of place because I don't have the proof for myself right now. You see, I don't have the needed help for myself right now. And that's very discouraging. It is. It's really discouraging. But I know that I have not lied. I know that I have not bullshitted. I know that I have not put on. I know that I have not wore a mask and facade. I know that I didn't try to make it something that it wasn't. I didn't try to be somebody I wasn't. And I didn't force anybody to do anything. I just said it how it is, and I let it be at that. And wherever that goes is where it goes. I can't call it. So take care of yourselves. Any support to the channel is appreciated. Thank you.